Hello there, listeners. Welcome to another episode of the Unfiltered Podcast. I am your host, Wakene, a journalist and producer with Debunk. Today, we are going to talk about mental health in Kenya, especially among the youth. Now, over the years, we've seen depression, anxiety, and suicidal cases growing among the youth, not just in Kenya, but across the region. And with ongoing retrenchments and lack of job opportunities due to the pandemic, mental health seems to be declining. Let's not forget that we live in a nation that criminalizes suicide attempts. As mental health worsens, young adults turn to substance abuse such as alcohol and marijuana. So today we are asking, is mental illness the silent crisis for young people in Kenya? On the show today, we have Anita Ray, who I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Hi, how are you? Anita Ray, I'm a media personality, I'm a mom, I am a motivational speaker, and I think I spend most of my life working with teenagers, the youth, mostly in the slums, because as you said, mental health is a problem, and people need someone they can run to. Well, I'm that person.
Okay.
Yes.
We have Dr. Linda.
Yeah, hi, Dr. Linda Nyamute. I'm a consultant psychiatrist and a mental health advocate. I'm also the founder of the Mental Sphere, which is an online platform for creating awareness among the youth.
And we have our resident noise maker.
As you guys are dropping CDs, left, right, and center. But anyway, Kolo the Prince, Kamakawa, Debunk Media.
And Kolo happens to be a good friend of Anita, so it's really good to have them on the table together.
We come from very far.
How's everybody doing?
Easy.
Oh, you're asking us?
Yeah.
Oh. We're good. I'm easy.
Yeah.
I can't complain. I had times, difficult times. I was telling Kolo that I came from, I work in media on radio, and we had someone wanted to commit suicide on air on Monday. So I think I've been crying. My voice has not yet come back to normal. It's not this hoarse. I think I'll recover somewhere along the week. I know, right? It's crazy. It's crazy.
Wow. Linda,
crazy.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Nothing much to say. Still in shock.
So let me start with you, Anita. You've been very forthcoming about your battle with depression and also battling suicidal thoughts. Do you want to share a bit about that?
I have extreme depression. I think the doctor calls it severe depression. I have severe depression. My psychiatrist would say I have ADHD. I have PTSD from my rape ordeal. So I have a lot of mental health issues, and learning how to deal with them was the biggest problem, because I didn't want to accept I have those many problems. And you see, when a doctor tells you those terms, I was like, what is ADHD? Can you break it down to me? And so, like, I have anxiety and attention disorders. Like, I overthink. So my mind is very hyper. I overthink everything. I'm a paranoid person. So learning it's a problem that I have to learn how to deal with it was a problem itself. And then with the suicidal thoughts, it's the lack of self-worth and self-love. So it took, let me tell you something. If you think there's something hard in loving people, try loving yourself. Try knowing that you can be a bad person and still love yourself. Try knowing that you can be not such a good mother or such a good friend or such a good daughter and still love yourself. It's very difficult. I don't even think people understand that, because I always ask my friends, if someone told you to write for me the things you love, what utakuwa namba ngapi kwa your list? And people don't even write themselves. They don't think they are people they love, So it was hard. I think this year was my eureka moment of discovering how I can fight my mental health, because I kept slipping back to the suicide place all the time. I don't understand how. And you see, with depression, you don't even explain it. It has no explanation. It's just a dark and hollow, sad place where you always feel like living is easier than staying. And you always feel like your loved ones would be better off without you being there. And it's a really bad place for you not to want to live. But then this year, I stopped being suicidal. I just got tired. Like, I realized I'm having too many battles with God and myself, so just let it go. But then I got to, my doctor says the worst law for a depressed person, I didn't want anything. Nothing. I didn't want my kids. I didn't want my job. I didn't want anything. I remember even telling God, I think I'll just breathe for now until you decide what you want to do with me. And then that's when I was asked by my psychiatrist to just give therapy a try, because I really hated therapy, because you have to open up past wounds and everything. So she was like, I'm going to give you a program where you just do therapy for yourself for a while. For some weird reason, I discovered myself through that. I let my therapist in. I got a new therapist. I opened up and I was really honest. I stopped telling them what they want to hear. It was hard. I think it has to be the hardest thing I've ever done. And it was after I turned 30, because I felt like I'm 30, nothing is making sense. So I opened up about my problems, about the fact that I'm no longer suicidal. I'm just tired, which is a really bad place for a depressed person. And I think the hardest part for me to accept was it's not my fault that I got raped. That was one of my biggest problems. And it's not my fault that my marriage didn't work. That was one of my biggest fears. And also I battled with rejection because I feel like I grew up not being accepted a lot. So discovering that and discovering the biggest rejection I have is me. I reject myself. I don't tell myself I'm pretty. I don't convince myself. And I have a lot of negative thoughts about myself. I laugh then I'm like, akinatekaga ka shetani. And I mean, mejiambia si mtu amesema, you know, I'll wake up and say, Anita umenona. You see, nobody is beating me. I'm beating myself. So it's been a journey of me not telling myself bad things. It's a lot of work because I think I tell myself a lot of bad things. But it's been beautiful. I think for the last, I'm not on meds at all. I have not relapsed. I have not had, I sleep. My insomnia is controlled now. And I'm not on meds. I can believe that. So I'm in a good place of self-love, of being a bit selfish, taking time to do things for me. Not even my kids, for me. And it's a good place to be. And now I feel I can even help other people understand that everything you're battling, any mental health issue, anxiety, you know, the panic attacks, I get panic attacks a lot. So it's for me to learn, I can only fix myself. No therapist or doctor can do that for me, or even meds, you know. So it's a lot of inside work rather than outside work.
Right. And at what age did you seek help?
I never sought help. I have never. I have a problem.
When did you get a therapist?
Yeah. I think it's in 2016 when I was pregnant with my daughter. That's when I really, really became stressed. And now I had postnatal depression because after I had my daughter, I don't know. I think something snapped in me. Then I really became edgy. I have a 2-month-old baby. Sitaki kusikia kilia. It agitates me like badly. So then my brother was like, you're not going so well. Can you just go see a doctor? And I had been told kutoka 2014, you have depression. Just go see someone about it. I was like, me is ugonjwa. Me I'll deal. Me I always deal. I'm not going to go to a doctor. Then when I went to see a therapist, at first I saw a psychiatrist. They were like, no, we have to take tests and know what you're battling. I didn't want to do the test. So I went for therapy, I think for 2 days, 2 times. I was like, it's not working for me. Because I didn't feel comfortable enough to open up about anything. I was not comfortable. I talked about my depression on radio in 2018. I talked about my rape a whole 15 years after it happened. You get, I didn't want to talk about it because I didn't want to deal with it. So for me, the first time I genuinely got help was 2018 when I decided, you know what, I actually have a problem. I am running away to drinking. And I became a person who drinks to sleep because of insomnia. I became a person who drinks to deal with everything. And it was a bad place because I didn't become an alcoholic. I became very dependent on alcohol. So if I want to deal with people, I'll drink. But if I don't want to deal with people, I'll hide and just stay sober, you get. So I felt like it was been a genuine problem. So I called my friend. She got me a good therapist. I stayed with her, I think, for a year. Then I changed. Now I got a psychiatrist, a psychologist, and a therapist. So I have 3 different people.
You said something interesting that somebody told you that you were depressed and you should seek help. And I want to come to you, Linda. What are some of the signs that one is not doing okay mentally?
Okay, so she's really given us a lot of those symptoms. So I think just to break it down, it comes down to things to do with your thoughts. So having recurrent thoughts of, like she said, feeling like she doesn't love herself, feeling like you're rejecting yourself, everyone else is better other than you. So there's so much negativity and negative thoughts constantly ringing in your mind. Then your mood as well, you're just constantly low, constantly sad, nothing really makes you happy most of the time. I mean, we have our ups and downs. You can't just be fully happy every day. That's also a mental health problem in itself. So the usual ups and downs, but a sustained period of low mood and feeling very down and excessive low periods where nothing can cheer you up. Also things to do with behavior where you just want to be alone. The way she said, you'd want to take alcohol to be able to hang around people. Normally the human soul is for interaction. You know, we love interaction, we love being around people. So by the time you're socially withdrawing yourself, then there is something to really look at in terms of whether your mental health is okay or not. Yeah.
Collins and I were just talking about this before we started, and he said men don't know these signs. He said there are no signs that a man can't identify that they are depressed.
Okay, not really the way you are putting it, because you told me that sometimes you wake up a whole week you're just feeling sad. Me as a man, I can tell you for a fact, my whole life I've never just woken up for a whole week and I'm just sad for no reason. I can feel bad because sometimes you're broke, but it's not the same thing as being
regardless
sad.
of any event.
I think I felt sad when my uncle died, but that was a while back. But he didn't last like a week. I mean, he was a solid guy. He was like, we were good like that. I felt bad that he died, but at the end of the day, life has to go on.
Yeah.
I mean, I cried. That was not the last time I cried over 10 years ago. But I moved on. Like, we were personal friends. He raised me a lot because when my mom had me, she still had school and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I used to stay with my uncles, my aunties. So I grew up with him most of the time. So we were tight like that. But, it was sad. But I wouldn't say for a whole week I would just not wake up and just feel sad. I mean, that has never happened. I don't know.
And I mean, within all those symptoms that she's mentioned, do you identify with any? Have you ever at any point identified with any of them?
Well, there was a time I had some drinking phases. But I think it's life. You go through life like that. You pick a point, you take alcohol too much, then you pick at some point, you're like, I'm getting too old for this nonsense. And,
but there has to be a trigger.
A trigger? I think there was a time I lost my job. Okay, you see, for a man, let me just say, for a dude, when you don't have tombs, let me tell you something. But for a dude, when you don't have a source of income as a dude, it really, what can I say? Like, it really pulls you down. Yeah, because you feel useless. Because if you cannot even send your mom a G to buy a packet of unga and some sugar, I know me. I'm one of me when I'm working. I always. Madhe akipiga ni haraka. There's no for questions. Like, she's the only woman I go out for like that. It's like, hey, take. No, your sister needs this. You're there. But you see, now it figures a point now, you can't do that anymore. Because now you don't have a source of income. Now you have to rearrange your whole life. Because now your lifestyle changed. I think I was really affected because now my lifestyle changed. Because now I was used to a certain way of living. Unajua kiamka asubuhi umechoka utaki breakfast unaingia Java. You pick whatever unaenda kwa ofisi. Jioni you're like JD mzinga mbili zikam unaenda home. So when that is put to a stop because of circumstance or where now there's no income anymore because you can't spend like that now without any income. So I was down for a while, you unashuka chini kidogo because you feel bad, but I wouldn't go as far as saying I was sad. I felt bad, but I wasn't sad.
I think that's a problem with men. They don't want to accept they would have mental health issues.
He's saying he felt bad.
He's explaining it in so many a million ways. Like yani kolo I'm explaining it. Like he's gone to Meru and back. Now you're in Garissa.
No, but Anita, no, it's. I mean, I did feel bad, but I wouldn't say sad. Okay, the way Joaquin was explaining this to me, she was like, you don't even feel like opening your curtains for a
that's
week.
For me. That's one of my signs.
That is crazy. Me, I've never woken up and I'm like, I don't want to see sunlight. I always want to see sunlight. It's my comfort. Like, toka nje watajua. See, umeamka. Unless I'm watching 24, then I don't get to open the
but you see, Kolo, most of my inbox every single day is from men. I rarely have inboxes from women who are depressed, honestly. Because one, men, you've created that image of nililia kido tulikuwa maboys. What is that? Mm-hmm. You get that is you covering up your problems. That's why men commit suicide more than women. It's actually written.
It's factual.
Men commit suicide more than women because you're there cinema boys with gangster points. It's unakufa. The worst thing is that genuinely you might not know. That's the worst thing about men. They might not know. Because you see, depression is not hiding. Depression is going out when you used not to go out. Yeah. I have a workmate who is the most quiet person ever. Then out of the blues, kila siku Anita uko, I'm like, are you okay? This is unlike you, but for real. Yeah. I actually told my boss, I was like, huyo yuko poa. There is no way this person is going out. Mm-hmm. No way. This is a geek. This is someone who leaves the house only to work. Now he's partying on a Monday. And 2 weeks later, alikuwa hosi. Seriously, like he snapped. Because it's not, depression is not hiding. It's sometimes going out of your norm. If your norm is reading and then you become your norm at you're dying, you're stoning, I'll be like, my brother, are you okay? Me, I get worried about things like that. A person who was maybe happily married starts partying, doing road trips, I'll be like, that's the thing you don't get. Maybe because you are settled, focusing, then out of the blues. Sijui uko na manga, umemiss kazi siku mbili. That might be depression. That might be a mental health issue. It's not hiding. Sometimes it's actually going out.
Okay, I don't think I got to that level. Oh. Okay, for me, we have a doctor here, so let me just, okay. I didn't really, okay, when I was working, first of all, we worked together. Work comes first. We used to do that, but work always used to come first.
Yeah.
Like you guys go out, but saa mbili tuko studio tunafanya kazi.
Amen.
So, I didn't really deviate from I don't know. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But I didn't really change.
I think what she was trying to say is, see that sometimes you have atypical symptoms of depression. The normal typical symptoms is what we know.
Yeah.
A sad person who will not open the curtains, who will want to stay in bed all day, not shower and kind of such things. But then now there's the other spectrum now where, like she said, you go out, you are excessively talkative and happy, but once that door closes behind you in your house, in your room, you know what is going down there. Then we also have functioning depression, where someone is still able to go to work, still able to perform their social roles, but they still have the symptoms of depression. That's why you see like someone who's very affluent person in the community, 2 days down the line, maybe they have been admitted or something, or they just jumped off the building or something like that. And they were very okay. You had a meeting with them probably in the morning. Yeah, so there's also atypical symptoms, which can really throw you off as a relative or a friend, because you're like, see, but they did this and they did this and they do this. Yeah, so that's also something that a lot of men, but even women, should look out for.
So I'm going to ask, is there really a mental health crisis with the young people, or does it cut across all ages?
I think I would love to start, because I think I spend a lot of time on social media. My whole life is on social media, which is a bad thing. Every day when you go on Twitter, let me use Twitter because it's very interactive, you see a lot of angry people. You see a lot of insults. You see a lot of, ukiangalia Twitter, you actually sit back and ask yourself, are we actually okay as human beings? Not as a nation, because the other day I was looking at the Twitter from the States. I was like, hey, what an Judy Kwetu. We are doing so well. Like, I've never felt so proud of KOT. I was like, KOT is disciplined. These people are mad. They're threatening each other with guns, or and then they take it offline. They will come look for you and shoot. Them, it's really serious. And I was looking, if you look in the States, we've been struggling from the States with a lot of mass shootings, crazy things from 16 years old. And it's a crisis all over the world, because we have a very broken generation which raised a broken generation. Our mothers raised a broken generation because they were depressed, but they didn't know what depression was. Because we came from mothers who have been beaten. We came from a generation of mothers who are struggling to even be recognized in society. Can you imagine how broken these women were, trying to fight for a place in society, trying to raise kids the right way, having abusive men who maybe are not supporting them, or even we came from a generation of parents who actually, kuna mahali msichana hangesoma, msichana hangepatiwa inheritance. It's such a broken generation that raised us. Now, can you imagine how broken we are, and we are raising another generation? That's how broken. It's been a lineage of brokenness. And we don't want to deal with it, because when you tell my mom you have depression, ni nini hizo? Mimi usiniletee mambo ya wagonjwa ya wazungu. And it ends there. Yeah. It's not even a discussion. So at the end of the day, it's a crisis because the governments don't acknowledge it. The people who are saying they're medics, no offense at all, they don't reach to the people they should be reaching to. We come on forums like this, and I'm going to use this as an example, but we don't go to the people themselves. That's why I told people, my number is public. I don't hide my number for one reason. Call me up. Let's just talk. Kuna mtu ananid tu muongee, hata si kitu ingine, imtoke. Every day I go on Twitter, I always give someone my number. Nipigie. I have a friend of mine, is called Bravin on Twitter. Bravin Yuri pushes a lot for mental health, because at the time he was so depressed. And Yuri sends me screenshots every day. I feel like I'm losing my mind. And these screenshots are from mothers. These screenshots are from teenagers. We have a 16-year-old who took pills the other day because she felt like the mother doesn't listen. We have a generation that is so fragile mentally. Anything makes them tick. Anything makes them tick. A man killed a wife yesterday in Kakamega because walikosania ugali. Is ugali a reason to kill anybody? That man just had issues. He needed a reason to tick. You go, we have such a crisis, but nobody is going to be focused on it because maybe it's not going to make money. Maybe it's not a business. So it's not a problem to people who don't suffer from it. But the young people of our country, we had a 10-year-old who committed suicide as a present to the mother. Because the mother has been saying, my life changed for the worse when you came. So he felt, if I die, Mom, that's your birthday. Can you imagine your child telling you committed suicide as a birthday present for you? Like, you know how broken that generation is because you say things to your kids without thinking what you're saying. How do you tell your child for 10 years, kabla uzaliwe nilikuwa na maisha mzuri sana? That kid takes it in. Alipatia mamake, now the mother buried her. Go back to your good life, So we have such a crisis that people don't want to deal with. And we cover it up in memes. We cover it up in insults. We cover it up in drinking, partying, road trips. We cover everything up. Nobody wants to look bare. Nobody wants to expose themselves. We have a society of, as long as I look good on social media, even if I am dying, I look good for the gram. Even if I am actually dying, I will die taking a picture na gari ya mtu hapa kwa parking.
Drip is forever.
Drip is forever.
Drip is forever.
So you see the problem. It's a genuine crisis. And the fact that even our kids feel they don't have anywhere to go. I'm a parent. We're so busy trying to look for money, we don't raise our kids. The internet is raising our kids. Social media is raising our kids. It's such a crisis. Sometimes I cry because I don't know where to start at all. When a 10-year-old commits suicide as a birthday present to the mom, where do you even start with that kind of society, When you have a 13-year-old killing them, wale watu wa form 3 waliwana, stabbed the friend because of a girl, 13 and 14. Yeah. I mean, guys, I told people, this is not a criminal case, it's a mental health case. Because where mentally is this kid to think it's okay to kill someone? We've made this look normal for our generation. It's such a crisis. I don't know where to start. I keep telling people it makes me lost and sad because it's such a crisis. And the saddest part of it all, our government will never accord it the attention it deserves.
Collins, do you feel it's a crisis for young people?
It definitely is, because the things that you see online, and these are children, like the 13, they are 14. When us guys were 13 and 14, yes, we would differ over a chick, but you wouldn't think to stab your friend. Like that would not be, that's not a thought that would cross your mind. But fighting over mamas, men have been doing that since time immemorial. But as a teenager, you cannot think, okay, so now you've snatched my mama, now I'm coming to stab there. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, it's just not. But me, I blame, let me just start. The buck stops with the guardians of these children. Let's just start from there first of all, because I know a lot of people don't want to have this conversation, but as a parent and as a guardian of a child, it's your problem. let me it's your problem, because it's up to you to regulate or control what your child consumes, especially now with the age of internet. And like I was saying the other day, when it comes to technology, change cuts both ways. It cuts this way, and it's like the word of God for those who subscribe to Christianity. It cuts both ways. There's the good side, and there's also the punishment side. So it cause and effect. You cannot have a cause without an effect. So when people try to assume that it's only good things, now we have information on our fingertips. But now, because I can access internet on my phone, I can also watch porn on my phone. Araka, we could be in this meeting and me, I'm just doing my own things here. How would you know?
I hope you're not.
How would you know? Yeah, so it is a problem. And social media has really done a lot of damage, especially to people who are susceptible. Because there was a docu on Netflix. I don't know if anyone got a chance to watch. It's called The Social Dilemma. Go and watch it if you have a chance, because it really talks about how social media, because when now someone posts a photo and someone is like, you have big ears, now they start feeling bad. No, because someone has said I have big ears, so now I'm starting to become self-conscious. Oh, your face looks like what? Oh, your clothes look like what? Because you don't wear Gucci and Prada, now you look like you've not made it in life. But you see, a lot of these things, 3/4 of them are just facades. And most of the time unaona mtu amepiga picha na Bentley, ako kazi, my friend. It's not Bentley ni yake.
I know.
Yako job, but wewe unajipea pressure na Toyota hapa, unataka uende ununue Bentley. Na mtu mwenye anapiga picha nayo amepatiwa na kampuni I promote. That's the thing. But wewe unajipea pressure hapa na become depressed, you feel like your life is not, but
And I want to come to you, Dr. Linda. Which generation reaches out more for professional help?
I think that we're seeing more and more people reaching out for help, especially this year with COVID and people now being more aware about what mental health is, and a lot of mental health advocates coming out, people like Anita coming out to say their story, and people are like, okay, so it's actually something that I should not be embarrassed about. So I think it cuts across, but from where I sit, it's usually the 20 to mid 30s. That's most of our clients usually come from around that time. But yet again, you find these are people who have been having symptoms for years and years. So these are probably problems that began when they were teenagers.
And I want to understand, where did this stigma about seeing mental health professionals come from? Did it come from our parents and grandparents?
Have you ever seen how a madman is treated? Have you ever seen how when growing up, how did we treat mad people? It's they are mad, you know. It's a mad person. They cannot even be part of society. So when you tell someone mental health issues, they are mad. That's a problem. People think. Once my grandfather, I laughed for a whole day. Someone sent my grandfather a link. My grandfather apparently it's on WhatsApp. I don't know. So I got to move a link. So he asked my uncle Mfungulia, and they read, and my grandfather was so offended that I talked about my mental health issues. You ni mambo ya familia. I was like, what are you talking about? I didn't even mention you. People don't know you're my grandfather. What do you mean? And he was genuinely offended.
He felt embarrassed for you.
On my behalf, like, why are you telling people you have a problem? Unajua wanafikiri wewe ni mwenda wazimu. I was like, they've always thought that way. Nothing is new. So I'm okay. Mimi mwenda wazimu. And my grandfather was genuinely offended. Like, Abisa, and he told me never to discuss mental health. And I laughed. I was like, you're the reason we're killing ourselves out here. Because you want me to... Listen, people need to understand, it's not you treat. When you get ukikata mkono, you go and get treated. Your mind is part of your body. It also gets tired. It gets worn out. And if not taken care of, it breaks. If you don't take care of that mind, it will break. That's what people need to understand. Kama ukiumia magoti unaenda kuona daktari, basi mbona ukiumia kichwa uendi kuona daktari? It doesn't make sense, you know. But now our problem is society. Number one, for men, they think it's a weakness. My ex has depression. And when we told him to go see a doctor, he blocked me, I think, for a month. I was like, are you kidding me? So when he unblocked me, I reminded him, you still need to see a doctor. And he really, and he was like, where he comes from, if he says he has a mental health issue, first he's going to get fired from work. Number one. Because they will think he's not stable enough to be working. I was like, you cannot get... He was like, Ataki. Like, men sees it a weakness. How, as a man, can I not control my issues enough to actually be sick? What do you mean my mind can control things? Ni mwanaume. He was thinking from the ego side of things. So men don't want to look weak. When a man, to be honest, also as a man, when you tell a woman you have mental health issues, they might use that against you. And for someone who's going through that, if a woman uses that against you, you'll be broken for life. You will never tell another woman. And you see, that's not a good thing. So you're also protecting yourself by keeping the issues to yourself. For women, when you say you have mental health issues, we have a lot of Google doctors. People treat themselves. So you never take them. Kwanza Twitter imejaa watu wakona fake depression. So you never take them seriously. So our problem with society and mental health issues is the stigma of looking at someone like less of a human being and less capable to actually work. Someone once told my boss, I'll never forget, on radio, that I don't want Anita to go on air. Why? Hey, wanakaa na za cheesy aseme vitu zake. I never get offended, imagine. I told her, I've been on, this is my 7th year on radio. I've had mental health issues, I think, since I was a child, to be honest. It's a pile up of things, yeah? I've never said something weird on air. And if I can't go on air, I don't go on air. I tell my boss, I'm not going to go on air. I don't have the energy to go on air. So I told someone, it's okay to be judged. And people even judge you unknowingly. Aki, when I said I had depression, Jesus, the inboxes you get, people forget you don't want sympathy. You get, see, Mungu anakupa, take that to church. Me, I know where I stand. I'm okay, I'm getting help, you know. So people make you feel like you're dying. Do you know how bad it is genuinely? Like people talk to you like you're dead. Like, kai akipole nika weni mayai baka mtu zikugusa. I'm like, are you like, people treat mental health as such a, it's worse than HIV or corona right now. Trust you, it's worse. True. People treat it with so much stigma, like aki anita ni mayai usimtukane sana asiti. Like, so I don't know, I think it's a perspective you have to understand. Number one, mimi si mwenda wazimu. It's not like you've lost your mind. It's just your mind is struggling with a lot of things. So once people understand that, sisi ya wakoti makaratasi, but if things get worse, you might go there, you know. And also understand it's a disease like any other. So that's the one thing people should push for. Awareness of mental health is a disease like any other. And tuache pia kuita mental health inakanika. We also make it look like guy hii ni kifo. It's not. And the problem with the association of suicide with mental health is what makes it worse. So mtu anaona na nikiambia nita kitu mbaya, I get suicidal. what if I touch a nerve? You get? So people are always delicate with you. That's the worst thing, kwanza by the way. It makes you actually now, when you makes you so self-conscious. Because una realize that kwa group mtu anaogopa kukutukana ama kukubanta ama That's why I love Twitter. They don't care if I'm killing myself. They just insult me anyway. So I think it makes it easier when people don't treat you
any different.
Any different. It makes it really hard for people with mental health issues. Yeah.
Collins, do you ever talk about mental health with your homies?
Okay, what?
Is it that it just never comes up? Is it the stigma? What is it?
You need to narrow it down. What kind of mental health are we talking here? Because
which one have you ever talked?
If you felt depressed, would you reach out to your fellow male friend?
Why? Why would you do that?
Is it that you feel that they won't understand, or why the reservation?
No, one thing, and I think people's experiences shape people differently. Because me personally, as a person, one thing I've learned on this planet, the only person who cares about your ass is your mother. The rest is useless. So me telling you is not going to help me. You're not going to help. What are you going to do for me? Me, I know if something happens to me today, my mom is the one who's going to be sad.
What if someone reaches out to you?
I'm not a doctor. Siwezi kusaidia. Tutasaidia naje?
Actually, we are not friends anymore.
I can't. Okay, see, for me,
listening help.
No, let me tell you. You see, for me, I cannot purport to know how to help you. I can be there for you as a person. Like you need something, Kolo. I don't have this. If I can provide, it's fine. Ukiniambia Kolo maze kuna mashida, maybe how imefungwa, I have space in my place. You come. But I cannot purport to be saying now. I'm telling you now. Do this. Don't do this. I'm not a trained prof. I'm not a doc. I have no capacity to psychoanalyze you.
What if someone just wants to let it all out?
To let it all out.
Not looking for your advice or anything, just to
kuskiza. It's fine. But that one for listening and ranting. I think I only have one friend in this planet that I do that with. Not ranting per se, but just to catch up. You break a bottle of Johnny Walker and then you catch up. We catch up. There's a kaboti there, we sip, we catch up. We talk about, vile maisha imepeleka hivi, you drink, is fit, kila mtu anaenda zake. For me, I think that is helpful for me. But one thing I know for a fact, whether I tell someone my real problems or my real feel, there's nothing they are going to do for me. Because I know the only person who cares about my ass on this planet is my mother. Period.
Who hurt you? Who hurt you? They did a number. We need to know who hurt you.
But Anita, and this I learned at a very young age. When you're children and you tell someone maybe, me I like wakini. You tell your friend. Then your friend akimbia kwa wakini and I'm choche. That teaches you a lesson. For those who have brains, it teaches you a lesson that kuambia watu vitu is useless. First of all, it's going to be used against you. And second of all, it's not going to further your cause at all. So why should you? Why should you?
I think he's brought out a very important element, toxic masculinity, which is where you will not, as a man, go to a fellow man to pour out your emotions, if we may call it, or rather talk about anything sensitive, because you're supposed to be macho, strong body, hakuna kitu, like nothing can move you, sort of. So that's where, and that's the society that we are growing to the point where things get so heavy, they're committing suicide.
Yeah.
Because I can't, now the way he's talked, there's no way I can approach him to tell him, if I'm a man, there's no way I can approach to tell him anything I'm going through. Be like, misi daktari, misi kuskizi.
Misi yesu anyway.
Misi yesu anyway. So, and I think that's another reason that is making it difficult for people to even seek care, because we've put it there as a society, as a man, and we're also growing a trend of ladies who also want to be, strong, black, independent women who are,
not dependent on any doctor or man.
Yes, or anything. I have it all going on. Nothing shakes me, nothing breaks me. So it's the same thing where, it cuts both ways, but I think it cuts more on your side. And I think the other thing that, just to add on what you were saying about stigma, the law also has helped to push for that. Because I mean, suicide, an attempted suicide is
criminalized.
Criminal. You're a criminal if you attempt
For trying to
suicide.
take your own life, right?
Yes. Because your life belongs to
the government.
So I mean, so the Constitution itself. I mean, I don't think there's any other illness in the Constitution where anything can, like for example, you can impeach the president because of a mental illness. You can't impeach him because he has a broken leg or something like that. So I think such things in the law are making it more and more difficult for people to seek help. And I don't know, maybe we'll move some strides in the right direction towards changing the Constitution, and maybe people like Kolo can change their mindset.
No, he won't.
And just to break down this stigma and this perception that anybody who is not 100 is a mad person, what are some of the, could you just break down some of the mental health illnesses?
Okay, so you brought out a very good thing. It's a spectrum. So it's not like you're either perfect or imperfect sort of a thing. So the mental illnesses, we have mood disorders. So those are things like depression, bipolar. We have the psychotic, the schizophrenia, the one, the guy who'll go and control traffic naked, pick papers and jump on the street and chase the kids away in the market. So psychotic disorders like those. Then we also have childhood disorders, things like autism, ADHD, but for sometimes it goes up all the way to adulthood. And at times, people keep forgetting sleep disorders are also mental health problems. Eating disorders are also mental health problems. And yeah, so there are very, very many, but personality disorders included, some behavioral disturbances also included.
And for those without access to mental health professionals, what options are there for them?
We have telepsychiatry options coming up. That's just basically being able to access your doctor, or rather access psychiatry services or therapy services, psychologist services online. If maybe you're in a remote area, or, I mean, even with the COVID time, that we've been restricted on so much. So telepsychiatry services are quite effective. The other option is, I think he'll disagree with me, but even talking to someone, talking to a friend goes a long, long way. Sometimes you just need probably that talk therapy to talk. You don't want a solution. You don't want someone to tell you this is what you're doing right, this is what you're doing wrong. You just want someone to listen to you and just know that they care, they're there for you. And that's very helpful, especially with suicidal patients. Just knowing that, okay, it's actually someone who values me and feels like I'm something in their life. It goes a very long way.
True.
Is there one fits all kind of advice that you'd give anybody with any mental disorder?
In the recovery, to prevent the recovery, or in
recovery.
Mm-hmm. I think for the recovery, promoting positive mental health. So just doing things like your exercise, healthy diet, and as well as the social engagements. Just having, but as he brought out something very important. Talking to someone who is reliable, honest, non-judgmental, and can keep your conversations within you. You don't want to talk to someone and then they're broadcasting everything that you said.
Nairobi hakuna. Let me not lie to you. Nairobi hakuna.
If you can find just even one or two people, even your mother, So if you can first find someone to talk to and just help you keep in that safe space. Then the other thing, if you're on treatment or medication, it's very important to adhere to the treatment as per your doctor's guidelines. If you have any challenges, just raise it up with them. Tell them, you know what, I feel like I'm done with these meds. I want to stop. What is your take on it? And sometimes you can find there are options for you that you can actually attempt to get you off the medications. For some people, not everybody is a candidate for that. So yeah, stay on your medications. If you have a therapist, keep to your sessions, because now that's the other thing. You go for one, you disappear when things get better, and then show up when...
That's
and having the last one, having healthy coping mechanisms. So that will depend on you. Whatever hobby you have, learning a new skill and things like that, they just help keep your mind active, keep your mind ready for something new. Yeah.
Anita, do you have some activities that you do to keep mentally fit?
Is drinking an activity?
It should be. It should be part of that. It has to be.
One thing I learned this time around, I actually stopped drinking when I'm stressed. Weirdly, kitambo, I used to stress. Then I realized every time I stress drink, I make the stupidest of decisions. So I'm always honest with myself. If I'm stressed, I'm like, guys, I am off alcohol. Like, Anita, you, I'm like, and I stay off, by the way, because it's a bad activity. Now, I exercise. I started exercising, which is good. I've lost 8 kgs. I feel like, So I started exercising. I started walking, taking walks in Karura. It's extremely healthy because you just walk. So you're just tired. You don't think much. I also started like, Kolo made a good point of it's hard to find someone you can talk to. But then now my entire life is based on support system that is not my family. So I think I only have 3 people. I have made it a habit where we sit down and rant every day or every 2 days. And I will rant, my God, I'll rant. Yani stress zote za siku napelekeaga mtu mmoja. I rant because she's like, sister, uchoki. I'm like, fana, so I rant. And I made it such a good, it's talk, as you said, talk therapy, because I take in a lot, like from people. So I need it out. I promised my therapy, I need it out at some point, because therapy is once a week. So I need it out katikati ya wiki. So I talk a lot, and also I've made it time to spend time with my kids. Kitambo was a very busy mom. Zile za, mko sawa? Nimewaona for 2-3 hours. It's been real. Acha nikatafute pesa. Haraka naenda Dubai, the name of money, But now I spend a lot of time with them. Play childish games. I've learned to do things that make me happy.
Yeah.
I'm very childish. So naenda kurukaruka kwa bouncing castle. And I feel very good about it. And I don't even feel bad. I go for paintballing. I go for zip. I go to do childish things. They just make me happy. Because I realized, unless I can make myself happy, then I can't actually be happy. So my activities are based around what I genuinely love. Like, vitu za utoto, childish kabisa, games, mostly are games. And it makes me very, very... Inasaidia kwanza na ADHD yangu, my concentration, I'm not overthinking at all. So that's a good thing. So I've learned how, I have a list. I'm going to bucket list, so I go ticking things that I've not done.
Kolo, are there things that you do to keep mentally fit?
Drink.
JD.
I don't know. I really don't know. For me, I like driving. Just driving to nowhere. It helps clear my mind when I'm just open road. But some of us, our hobbies are too expensive because sasa hiyo gari kuendesha kila saa mafuta nini barabara. But I think I would love to try paintballing. So Anita, next time you go, holla at a brother. Zip lining. I like to shoot stuff. I like to shoot stuff. So next time, Anita, please holla at a brother. But I don't think I've really found something that, genuinely, makes me happy other than a bottle of JD. I'm still yet to find something better. I know it's not a really good behavior, but... we do what we can. We do what we can, right?
I think what I usually recommend, it doesn't work for everyone, but for a lot of people, go back to your childhood. What things used to make you happy? And then now look at, because now if you used to like art, you can find that you find a lot of peace and a lot of solace in that, So if you used to like, like kati, then paintballing would be your vibe. So it's just try and maybe reflect back on what you used to love as a child, and then now what is the adult version of it, and how can you further into it.
But
good
still,
tip.
I'm a cheza kati still. I force my cousins to play kati. Why are you imitating it? Play it. Tengeneza ball mzuri na usiweke mawe
ball ya socks.
Ya socks cha ukweli, twende nje, vaa viatu mzuri. Chezeni kati.
But so, Doc, let me just ask, how would you know, like, you have a problem? Because you've said sometimes it's not the typical things you see. It's not lack of sleep sometimes or being sad like me. That version of being sad all week, I've never seen that shit. So how would you know like you have a problem? Because I know a lot of us guys, maybe we have problems that we do not know about. You never know. You might be just walking a thin line and you don't know.
One thing you mentioned, at least for you said every time you're stressed, or rather JD is your coping skill. So whenever you find yourself drinking a bit more than usual, then you should know that there's a problem there.
Okay, define more than usual, because that's also something.
You need to really define that for yourself.
There is also something else you need to be very clear about, because define more than usual. Because sometimes, especially when you're in a social setup, me, I can tell you for a fact, there's a time we went somewhere at 3 p.m. And we left the next morning at 6 a.m. By the time we were leaving, I think we had dented like 11 bottles of JD. So now, define what it is, like, because, okay, I wasn't by myself. We were like 3, 4, 5 guys. But yeah, that's the amount of alcohol.
That is too much.
We consumed. Because we were there from 3 p.m. as guys were...
Exactly, true. That is too much. Even I drink, come on, that's too much.
No, but we were having fun. We were having good, guys were dancing, guys were drinking.
That is very suicidal behavior. 2 bottles of JD.
We had 11 of them.
That's the
And
point.
you were
were 5.
We were like 5 guys.
Yes, so you drank 2 bottles
2.25
each.
Yeah, give or take.
I'm curious as to what you guys were talking about.
I don't know. Sometimes you get drunk, you even forget
Football,
what you were talking about.
women, politics, life, money. I can bet. I hang out with men. I know their conversations.
But Doc, is it safe to say that when you're broke, you have a mental illness? Let me just ask. Because what the number of people in this town that if you gave money tomorrow, they would straighten their lives out, you'll be surprised.
It's a contributing factor.
Am I making sense?
Can I add to that? I told people that on Twitter. You're not depressed, you're broke.
You're just broke, yeah.
There's a meme that goes around social media of a dog that is dying, and the dog says, if they only knew I don't have mental health issues, I just need money. Like, you get. That's the problem. And I realize that a lot, even with me sometimes. When I don't have money, I'm low for some reason.
Yeah.
Because I want to do so many things I can't do. That's not depression.
So, okay, and not money only, like situational factors. Like if you're in a let's say abusive marriage.
Yeah.
If you remove you from that abusive marriage and successfully remove you from that abusive marriage, you find that the symptoms of that low mood, that sort of depressive phase ends because it's situational. So it can still be depression depending on the extent to what it's caused, but it's more of what we call exogenous because there are external factors contributing towards that. But being broke,
let me tell you, all the time, I can tell you for a fact, even me, let me use myself as an example. All the times I have money, I'm happy. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I could just be seated watching a movie, but I know if nikitoka hapa naweza enda Galitos na nichukue food na nichukue drink bila shida, I am happy.
But depression and many mental illness is not
money-based
one
actually.
day. Yeah, it's not a one-day event. It's not like, oh, today I'm sad. Okay, so I have depression. No. It's more than just that sad one sad day, one
But if
blue
you're
day.
broke for like 6 months, then it's more than one sad day. You were sad for 6 months.
I think it wouldn't be the cause, but it would lead to, you get.
Yes,
Because now
situational factor.
if you're broke for 6 months and you worked up about it every day, then it would lead to depression, definitely. But it can be, as she said, a one-day thing. And also, people need to understand that depression is not based on things like those. Trust me, until you're broke for a day. Depression comes from now what being broke makes you think about yourself. You get?
Yeah.
It's now I'm broke, so I'm useless. So you get
So your wife has left.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you see,
You've
for
been
men,
kicked
that is
out of
exactly
it.
what happens. For a man, when you cannot provide, especially those who have a wife, you have a family, you have toys who depend on you. If you get to a point that you cannot be able to meet your obligations as a man, first of all, hata unaambia ni bibi yako. What are you talking to your wife about if you cannot even buy a loaf of bread? What are we talking about in this house?
That's true.
I see. For men, if all men had money, depression itaisha kwa wanaume. That will be the end of it. Because most of them, it's those circumstances that force them into that.
I refuse because we see a lot of clients, top clients, even in this country, men with money. They come driving in very big house. that me, I just look at them like, okay.
In the future.
So,
No, kuna shida.
future plans. And they have depression. We admit them for depression, severe depression. They commit suicide. How many prestigious people in this country still commit suicide? Unashanga, it's the way people wake up and say, he had everything. He has a good life. He has a good family. He has so much money. He has to do what... It still happens. So it's not, that's not, it can be a contributing factor, but it's not a cause.
It is the biggest
It's
contributor.
not
If
a
you
cause.
ask me, in men,
not a
my
cause.
humble opinion, it is the biggest
And
contributing
actually,
factor to men.
suicide is also quite high, both on the social scale, the high social class and the low social class. Very high.
Wale wajuzi jishi yao nini? Hawa chini. I can understand what the problem is. Wale wako huko, sijui, I don't know what their problem is, but I can understand the ones who are huku chini.
I think before we wind up, I'm sorry, I work in a place where you get to meet those high-end people a lot, and one thing I've learned, as you said, money is everything, but then trust me, if you're feeling insufficient or inadequate as a man, no amount of money can fulfill that gap.
True.
That's why you find a man has money, but he's feeling he's not enough. Not for himself, maybe, not for his wife, and not for life. If you feel like as a man you're inadequate, no matter how big in society you are, no matter ile cheo umepewa, if you're inadequate as a person, you will never be enough for anything else or anyone else. So that's why you find someone with everything killing themselves, because they don't feel like they're enough for anything. So I know it's about money sometimes. It's about being able to provide or wanting to provide, maybe for yourself, for your families. And you see, men, they have so many dependents, because as a man, if you make it in life, your family is expecting, your family, starting from your parents and siblings, automatically expect you to take care of them. And even if you can, it's a burden either way. So if this man is feeling inadequate for himself, he will never be adequate for anyone else. And that's what the pata genuinely himself, when I kill to life, at a jump off, he's tired. He's tired maybe of people asking from him, taking from him, draining from him, and he's feeling, you know what, I will never be enough for you people. So juu hamta itosheka, wacha tu niendange nikisonga.
But now, how do you deal with that? Because I know for me, I'm just putting a man's perspective here. Because I know for a man, your pride. How did Steve Harvey put it? The joy for a man, especially someone who has a famo and a wife or a girlfriend, ndio unaonanga watu wa bonfire wanauza sana. Kwa nini? Wanaume ndio wananunua hizo trips. Mimi leo nimesikia hivi, acha nipeleke Anita Mombasa afurahie.
Nataka kunipeleka Mombasa. It's a good idea.
You know.
guys, let's bring the conversation back.
I'm just okay for me. If you're in my money, for me, for men, and I'm being very specific, for men, is the biggest contributor, if not what drives them to depression. Because that kwanza hii COVID, you know, sometimes you go to the his teenage page kina XT and you see the way guys just vent there. Kwa nini Anita, I go to Anita's nini, sometimes you see the way guys vent. Most of these people, like, they are just broke. Unasikia mtu alipoteza kazi, now they cannot fend for their farm, they like their lifestyle had to change, they had to move. Someone kwanza niliona mwingine alikuwa na make like 300 G's a month, now he makes nothing. So you can imagine what kind of space that person's in. At 300 G's, you can support your farm, you can support your wife, you can support your mother, your sisters, and your whole extended family to some extent. But now, imagine you wake up one day and nothing. So what is to become of your life? What is to become of your life?
So the thing is, though, it's not the money. It's what you think that, or rather what that money does
Represents.
for you and what it represents.
True.
In your life. So it's about the values that you put in and the value that you have for the people that you are catering to. So if it's like your mom, she'll understand if you're not able to give her money every month, unless there's something off with that relationship, which probably needs to be worked on. Therapy. There is, if you lose your job, if it's a good, healthy relationship, she would be in a position to understand and probably support you if you're of the age of being supported by your mother. If it's your wife, she may be in also a position to support you. And if it's a healthy relationship, not the word, if it's a healthy relationship. Sizile za tuma fair.
We need to have another session, and I want the good doctor to come back. We talk about healthy relationships, because that is also another topic on its own. Because I can tell you 3/4 of the men in this town cannot depend on their wives for nothing. Mm-hmm. forget even depending. They don't even trust their wives. If you listen to Minor, sometimes the things people talk about on that show, you're like, how are you sleeping in the same bed with this woman?
Guys, that's topic for another day.
Yeah, like I said, we should do that some other time.
Actually, you should rephrase it. It's toxic
Yeah,
relationships
toxic,
coming from
yeah.
parents, siblings, and even marriages. Because as kwa parents na siblings, I feel kwa marriages.
Yeah, before we wind up, I want to talk about anxiety. I mean, everybody at some point gets anxious. But when do you know that it's... When do you know that you need to see a professional?
To seek help.
Yeah.
So one common example you like to give is, Anita, if you see a lion right there, right there, there's no window here, what would you do?
Freeze.
Okay, what would you do? Okay, what would you do?
Running would
Flight.
not be my first option.
So you see, you'll have either flight or fight option. So of course, then you'll be very anxious. Your body will be, get very tensed. Your heart will be beating out of you'll be feeling dizzy and all that. And that's because that's a normal reaction. Yeah, because of the situation. So what happens in anxiety is you're still feeling the same way, yet you're not in a situation that it should be in, that your body should be reacting in that way. So we are just seated here having a conversation and you're having palpitations, your heart is beating very fast, you're feeling very dizzy, you want to collapse, and yet there's no trigger. Basically, yeah, so feeling on edge constantly all the time. And for some people, it gets to the point where it even impacts on their day-to-day life. They're not able to make a presentation at work because the PowerPoint goes on and kapush, there's nothing, that voice gone completely because of the anxiety. So there are people who have to take alcohol to be able to sit in social gatherings because they will not be able to converse, the social anxiety type. So once it starts interfering also with your day-to-day functioning, there are people who wake up in the middle of the night because their hearts are beating so fast. So it starts interfering with your sleep as well, your and your work, your relationships. Then generally, even you yourself will know this is not a feeling I should be having. So there's the bit before it gets very severe. It can be managed by therapy. Once it gets severe, but anyway, that doesn't cut across the book. So it can be managed by drugs and or therapy.
Okay, guys, we are gonna wrap this conversation. I just want to get final remarks from our guests. Anita?
I think mental health is about knowing yourself. She said about anxiety, nikaanza kubreathe na nguvu. I have the worst anxiety. I woke up like scared. I was shaking. I was like, I'm late. I work with an inhaler because I get so ukinishtua now misishtukagi ya jokes. I'll panic ya ukweli like. So it's about knowing yourself and your problems. And you see, as Kolo said, men struggle, and a lot of people, not even men, struggle with knowing if they have a problem, because in every stage of going through anything, there's the denial, the acceptance. That's when you get help. A lot of people are going through so much with Corona. It's 10 times worse. People are jobless, coming home. Most people are married because they were not seeing each other. Now you're seeing each other. That's a genuine problem. You don't know the person you're living with. Yo, I'm serious.
No, I know. The stories are just too
No,
much.
for real.
But,
Like, serious. Have you seen how femicide has risen this year? Skyrocketing. Because you have not been seeing each other. I've not been seeing. I don't know who you are, first of all. You just have kids. We got married. You have such a busy schedule. I travel. We are at home for 5 months. I cannot stand you. So, people are going through so much mentally, physically. Please reach out. Even if not for mental health, even if not to an advocate, because you might fear doctor asikwambie when mgonjwa, reach out to someone you trust. And sometimes you just say, you know what, toss a coin. Wacha nikwambie useme rather than nisikie. I always say that sometimes, you know what, let me tell you so that you can. That's why I write it on my Instagram. Acha niwaambie ili muongee kuliko iniue. Willis Raburu is a very close friend of mine, and Willis always writes, Anita told me to say it. I told him, Willis, if it's killing you, tell the whole freaking world. Wacha itoke. Tell them. You care about what they say. They talk anyway. Just let it out. I've learned that. Mimi nitasema, kisikia utanijudge. Imagine do you, bebe bubu, it's you problem. It's not me. Me, I said it, imetoka. Because some of us are good at writing. That's what heals us. So if you're somewhere you're not good at talking it out, then write it. If you can't even write it, scream it. Just let it out one way or the other. By letting it out on your spouse, on your kids, on someone else, don't do that, because you will have a problem you can't recover from, or you killing someone is something you cannot come back from. So a lot of mental health issues are there. Just reach out. If you can't talk to your spouse or people like Kolo, you can't talk to them, find someone else. Find someone else. Go to social media. I'm sure you said about, it's called, you call it mentosphere. Go to, me, I like Twitter because you can be anonymous. You can go and rant as an anonymous person. So do that. Open a pseudo account on Twitter. Rant. And rant. Piga makelele. It will come out one way or the other, because talk therapy is the best therapy in the world. Because you talk it out. It leaves you some way. It leaves you. So if you can't go to a doctor, if you don't want to go seek help, talk to someone. That's it.
Kolo, final remarks? Something new you've learned today?
First of all, I think what I've learned is that I need to reevaluate my whole life, first of all. I need to really reevaluate my whole life and my relationships and my connections with the people I relate with on a day-to-day basis. But yeah, I think it's about time we accept that mental health is there. And especially as men in the society, I know it's a problem for all of us. But it's also an expectation from the society, because the society expects you to behave in a certain kind of way or do things in a certain kind of way. And sometimes it's not entirely up to you, because we are products of our environment. So it is what it is. Well, sometimes we take the world as it is, not as we would love it to be. If it was how we would love it to be, things would be very different. But yeah, I think moving forward, we should reevaluate your life. Like me, I'm going to reevaluate my life. But yeah, so if I find out that I have a problem, maybe I do and I don't know. Sometimes you don't know if you have a problem. So if I have a problem, now I know a good doctor. I can reach out to the good doctor.
Great. Dr. Linda?
Yeah, I think for everything we've said, seeking help is very, very important. And if you don't know, if you don't know what to do if someone approaches you, just seek professional help. You can be the broker, the
go-between.
So for that person to be able to access services, there's so many services out there. There are so many people willing to help you. So don't die alone and feel like there's nothing out there for you. If you're scared of us young doctors, as I hear we are called, they're older doctors who you can see. If you're scared of the old doctor, if you're like, this will be like talking to my dad, he'll judge me or something, we are here for you as well. And owning your story, as Anita said, own your story. Once you own your story, no one can tear you down, because it's out there, it's mine, it's my story. You say what you want to do, you can try and relive your own story the way you want to, but this is my story. So self-love and just accepting yourself and growing within yourself, being self-aware and growing within yourself, I think is just one of the ways in which we can we can just protect our mental health. Yeah.
Okay, thank you everybody for tuning in. This has been another episode of the Unfiltered podcast with Anita Ray, Dr. Linda, and Collins the Prince. I have been your host, Wakene. Until next time, bye-bye.